Alright, hey guys, so we are doing bypassing UAC for user account control. So essentially, the UAC has a few levels here, the integrity level low, medium, and high. And high basically gives you all the keys to the kingdom. Well, not really. I mean, it allows you to use administrator level token if UAC is enabled. If UAC is disabled, all administrators will always use a high IL token. So that would be our goal, but unfortunately we start off as medium. So this is a process in which an application would utilize a medium IL, just your standard command prompt, and then administrator command prompt would use a high IL. And if we look here, we can see that the medium integrity level, you can see it's set here. It says mandatory label, medium mandatory level, and then here it's mandatory label, and then high mandatory level. So it's that high level that's only set for admins. And by default, it's set to a medium IL, but there's ways to bypass that. And it's just the way you would go about executing a program as administrator, and essentially we're going to try to bypass that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start my Windows machine and just pause this real quick. Actually, I do realize something. So to answer these questions, you don't need to start the Windows box yet. It's asking what is the highest integrity level IL available on Windows, and the highest out of that list was system. What is the IL associated with an administrator evaluated token? And that's going to be high. And then what is the name of the service in charge of dealing with the UAC evaluation request? So that's going to be the application information service, right? Okay. Now for task 3, I'm just going to go ahead and start it. And I'm just going to give you a brief high-level intro into the task, and then primarily just go over the flag, right? So we're just going to run through this. All right, guys, for this first portion, it's telling us to remote into the machine. I use Ramina whenever I decide to remote into it. And after you do that, you're going to run msconfig. So I did that, just type run in here in the search bar and just type run, and then you should be able to bring that up and type msconfig like that. Doing that should bring up this little box here. And as you see, if you go to tools, you see under command prompt, open a command prompt window. We can take a look at Process Hacker, which is essentially just like Task Manager. And it'll show us here that we have Process Manager, here we go, processhacker.exe. And we have the msconfig, I believe is what they wanted to look at here. Oh, there it is. So you can see it's right here. And if you hover over it, you'll see that it says process is elevated at the very bottom. So because it's already elevated, we can utilize this tool, which can open up a command prompt as admin, which is running as admin, and therefore can open up the command prompt as admin. So when we launch it, we get a command prompt that's admin. Now this is pretty cool. So after you do that, then you should be able to get the flag. Take a look here. Flag. Oh, here's the command. And so we'll just copy that, come over here, delete the get. Actually, do we need the get? No, we need the get. Okay, get flag, because that's the name of the file. So we're going to use our obtained hi IL command prompt to then input that command and then get the flag that we need. So I'm just going to delete what was already in here, or we'll just type the upward arrow there. And I'll repaste it in. Let's see if that does it. All right, and then here's our flag here. Okay, let's see. And we'll just paste that in. All right. And for this next portion, okay, so as with msconfig, amman.msc will run evaluate without requiring user interaction. If we can find a way to spawn a shell within the process, we will bypass UAC. Note that unlike msconfig, no intended built-in way to spawn a shell. Easy to overcome. Activity. Okay, so we're gonna get creative here, and we're going to open up this. We're going to run this program, and unlike the one that we used previously, it's not going to be as easy to just spawn a shell. All right, so here's the program here. Go to help topics. Right click, view source. File, open. I'm going to select all files. And I think I know what we're going to do here. All right. This once again, bypass UAC and give us the high level one. And then we're going to Windows sys32. In the real world, it probably wouldn't be this easy because typically you'd have group policy that prevents non-admins from like getting into the sys32 folder. But for this proof of concept, it's actually pretty cool though. So let me scroll down to the bottom because these are just folders. So your exes are going to be down here. We should have cmd.exe here under C. There it is. So there it is right there. And then we can just open it. That should open up another command prompt. Oh, nope, it opened up with Windows. It opened up with Notepad. That's not exactly what we wanted. So let me try that again. All right, I'm gonna try the same thing, except this time I right click it and click open. And then now we have the evaluated command prompt. So we can try to get the flag. Right, perfect. Okay, as with all my videos, I'm gonna post the flags in the description or possibly the comment section. Because description's got a character limit, so sometimes I can't put everything in the description, right? All right, just to recap on task 3, you can actually carry that out on your own computer. I thought maybe a group policy would prevent that, but no, that is something you can actually do right now to your own machine to test that out. That's pretty crazy to me. I mean, I don't know why Microsoft hasn't patched that. That seems like a really bad vulnerability. So essentially, uh, hopefully companies have a group policy that protects against this. Otherwise, someone can just run this and gain an admin shell, which is pretty terrifying if you think about it. I had to test that out in my test environment to see if this is something you could exploit in the enterprise world. Oh man. All right. This is why I like TryHackMe. It teaches me all these little things that I honestly never knew. Who knew? All right, task 4, UAC Auto Evaluating process. Okay. Oh, all right, guys. So for this portion right here, they just give you the command to connect to the victim's machine using netcat. Once you're in, it looks like they do a who am I to see who you logged in as. Net user attacker, find local groups. We're looking at the local group here and seeing who's a part of it. And then we're checking the mandatory label, medium mandatory level. So we're checking to make sure that's set. So it's set to medium right now. So obviously we're going to want to break out of that. So next things they're going to do is run these commands here that will set some registry values associated to the MS settings class to reverse shell. Okay, so we'll essentially just copy this and then paste it. And it looks like they want us to do a netcat listener on our attack box. So I'm gonna try this out. All right, add this one in here. And we have to add our attacker IP, so let me throw this in a notepad. And I'm just gonna throw my attacker IP address in there. Should be ton 0 type P. All right, that should work out. And then next, I guess we'll put that command in, see if we get any errors. Running socat.exe, which is then opening up a, looks like it's opening a command prompt there. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong one. Need this one. There we go. Enter that. All right, good. And once we have that entered, then we're going to reg add. We're gonna add reg key delegate execution. Okay. And next reg add. Add another reg key here. Notice how we need to create an empty value called delegate execution for the class associated to take effect. If this registry value is not present, the operating system will ignore the command and use a system-wide class association instead. Okay. To this next one. Great. And after this, then we are going to set our netcat listener. All right. All right, and then after that, looks like they have the FOD helper.exe right there. So let me navigate to that. And when I do that, I should get my shell. Okay, and then so after you've copied over the commands and you run them, I had to run it twice because when I run it the first time, it either didn't go through or maybe I forgot a command. But after I copy and pasted them, then I ran FOD helper.exe. Now I did navigate to the C drive's like root folder, right? Just like they have here. Maybe that was why it didn't work at first because I ran it from like the Windows folder and then I ran it from the C root folder. So after I did that, I got my remote shell here. So next portion is to get the flag. So we'll just get the flag. I'm just going to paste that in. Great. So here's the flag. As a result of executing this exploit, some artifacts were created on the target system in the form of registry keys. To avoid detection, we need to clean up after ourselves. Following command. I'm just going to delete the registry key we just created. Okay. All right, great. Cool. We'll be doing task 5 here. Let me just go ahead and get it set up. So you can see I already had captured the flag, but just quickly trying to replicate what I just did. We're just going to go ahead and look through the instructions real quick. So these first two examples they give you will trigger the Microsoft Defender. However, that last example will not because using the command prompt instead of PowerShell and essentially we're running the same commands we ran earlier, just executing some evasion here. So what you're going to want to do is copy and paste this. So as we know, they've already, in this scenario, we have a person who gave us a backdoor, and all we need to do is connect to it using netcat. So that's the scenario here. So we're just going to copy this netcat command that's going to get us access to this backdoor. So once you have access to the backdoor, you should see what I'm seeing here. So you can see I've run the netcat command there, and I will also ensure to include this in the comment section. We'll name this one task 5, and you'll see all the commands I ran for task 5. Okay, as well as the flag. So I'll throw the flag in there. Oh, I'm sorry. If you were looking at my screen a second ago, it looks like that was task 4. So this is task 5 right here. Yep, there we go. I was only at task 4 to gather the ENC command information. That's going to be the flag. And we'll throw the flag at the ends. There we go. All right. So once I've connected to their machine, then I'm going to run through the commands that they provide. Again, those are going to be the last few commands here. And once I run the FOD helper.exe, that should get us our reverse shell. So I input these commands there, as you can see. And once I did that, I spun up a netcat listener. on port 4445, and I input that there. You will have to modify the IP address section, so I'm just gonna remove my IP address here. I'll put 10.10.1, your IP. That way you remember to input your IP there. So we'll use that as an example. And once you have that reverse shell, you can see we're doing who am I group, and we can see that the it sets a high mandatory level, which means this is running as the admin privileges, and we can see here, we'll execute this command here, and this will get us our flag. So that's that. Let's move on to the next task. Okay, for this next task, I'm going to utilize the same NC backdoor connection I have. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run through this. So for the settings, you can see allow tasks to run on demand for the disk cleanup, and it's set to run with the highest privileges. So if admin executes this, it will bypass the UAC and gives you the access that you want. Now you can see how you can only imagine how bad that is. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run these last few commands here, and this should allow us to get our reverse shell. So let's go ahead and run this here and modify it so that it actually will run for your specific IP address. And this is the task 6. Modify this real quickly. All right, that ready. I'm going to just drop that here. And after that, we should be able to run this last one here. And after that, we'll just open up the netcat listener. All right, and after that, we should be able to execute to retrieve this version. Use your shell to execute. All right. So if it's scheduled to run, I believe it should get back to us. Oh, okay, so running this SE task, this will schedule it to run right away silently in the background. So if you did that, then you should be able to get your reverse shell here. All right, so first you want to run this command, set up your netcat listener, then run this command. And then after that, get your flag. All right, we got the flag. Come back over here. I'm just gonna copy this for the comment section. Actually, we'll just grab it from here. All right, gotcha. All right, so we got the information here for the comment section. Let's see, moving on to the next task here. All right, so this last portion, task 7, they give you an automating UAC bypass tool. I love their automating tool. Let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. Yep, here we go. So this is it right here. What we're gonna do is copy this onto our attack box. One of the best reasons to actually utilize an attack box is that you get to copy all these awesome tools to your attack box for future reference. And it's not just something you're gonna throw away at the end of the lab here. Something that's gonna stay with you throughout your journey. All right, so let's go ahead and I think I have a folder. I think I'll just make a new folder here. So let's see. And then I'm gonna open up the terminal from here. I'm going to git clone. And I'm just gonna clone that repository real quick so I can get all the stuff I need for later. Just give me one sec here. Any issues pasting it? There we go. Oh, perfect. If I look inside, it's got everything we need. Let's see. This should have. All right, good, good. Looks like it's in C. Might have to compile that if it doesn't have the executable. I'll look into that later. Not really too concerned with that. Let's just knock this lab out. So next portion here is going to be just running that tool. So luckily they've already gotten it installed for us on the victim machine. You can see our previous command open up a terminal here, which it's supposed to be done silently, but it's all right. It's actually this is because it's opening the flag tool, right? The tool that's supposed to get us the flag. That's the reason we're seeing that. Anyhow, so let's just open up your standard command prompt, and we're just going to copy in for cd tools. We're going to cd to the tools directory, and then we're going to run the executable with the method ID 33. Oh, before we do that, we might have to set up some type of reverse shell listener or something of that sort. So, okay. I'm going to close this out. And yeah, that might have been an issue. Let me go ahead and look into this further real quick. All right, guys, I think you'll find this extremely interesting. Going a little further into this because this last task right here didn't really provide you the rest of the command you needed. And so when you run this, essentially this exe will run with the method ID of 33, which is the FOD helper.exe, essentially opening anything up with as admin, right? Now, the way you can do this, you could chain this with what we previously learned. And so what I did was, and this is kind of like just a proof of concept of how useful this type of tool can actually be for you. You can see here, I was kind of experimenting around, but the main thing you're going to want to do is just, I'll just move that out of the way. I created a, oh, interesting. Okay, so I created a run me text right here. And when we open it, what it does is it's essentially doing what we learned earlier with once we run these commands with the command prompt, it will then establish that reverse shell that we wanted.
and it's also going to bypass Defender. And this last one executes the FOD helper.exe, which I don't know if that's necessary because it's already doing that with the app that we're using. But this is a bash script. So essentially, what TryHackMe wanted you to do was to execute it using a command prompt. And right now it's a text file just because I wanted you guys to see it. But shortly, I'll turn it into a bash script. Sure, I'll show you the proof of concept so that you're able to replicate this if you wanted to. So here you can see that you run the UAC ME dash AKAGI64.exe space 33 space, then you're going to specify whatever file you want to run. And whatever file you specify, it will run it as admin. Now, for me, I don't know if this is useful to just open up another command prompt. So why not have it run a bash file or a batch file, right, with the T, a batch file that will then create that reverse shell and connect back to our machine remotely, and then allow us to roam about the machine with admin privileges, right? That's much better than doing it locally. So that's exactly what I did here. And to prove I did that, what we did was we start up an NCAT listener, okay, on port 4445. I'm just going to walk you through what I did. And after that, I changed this runme.txt. I just copy this. You know what? I'll throw this in the comment section for you guys. If you guys want to copy, do this. This is something you can actually do in the future. Considering this actually bypasses Windows Defender, it's actually kind of valuable to me. I don't know if it actually will. I have to test it in a test environment because we all know they update their signatures all the time. And it may be that this will be picked up with the next update or has already been picked up, most likely. I wouldn't be surprised if it's already picked up. So I'm going to input task 7, and then we'll put the flag, and then I'll put the script. So let's see here. We'll call this one run me. So this is what you're gonna put in your run me.bat script, right? You want to make sure you enable extension so you can actually change the extension, right? And this is going to be the start. This is going to be the end. You're going to copy this into a text file. You're going to put it on the victim machine like I did here. You're going to paste it in. You're going to make sure you change the IP address information. I always have to go through the end of my videos and change that, so you guys make sure you guys do it on your part. And once you do that, then you should be all set. You just need to set your listener up. So once you set your listener up, then you will execute the commands to actually run the app here. So let me go ahead and get this. So then you'll run it. And just know for your use that they have it in C, so you're gonna have to compile it when we got it from that site. I might actually transfer it over to my computer actually before I end this. Okay, and here it is here. So this will run the bat file. And once it runs the bat file, connect back to your reverse shell. And once you're connected back to your reverse shell, you do a who am I? And this is going to be confusing for you because it's going to say attacker, right? It doesn't say admin, doesn't say local system or anything like that to signify that you have higher privileges. But if you take a look at the who am I priv, you're going to see that you have quite a few things enabled here that the standard user wouldn't. Like you see in here. So this is the only thing enabled when I run that command from here. But when I run it from here, you can see I have a few more things enabled. I have this enabled, I have these enabled, right? I have this enabled, and you're not seeing that from this user's perspective. That's because we have a little evaluated shell here. And when I go through here and I scroll down, you can see I checked, okay, can I access the administrator folder? Well, I actually found out both of them can. says, okay, well, that's not going to give me all information. Who am I groups? So let's check the who am I groups. Let's see, what's enabled and what's disabled for this one. So if I check this one, let's see here. Oh, well, those are enabled by default. So if this worked out the way it was supposed to, this should be admin shell. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but from my perspective, all these are enabled. And I believe we have admin access. If not, I'm pretty sure it would take a little bit more work to actually get something like a Metasploit shell or interpreter shell on here on the victim machine. Instead of running that batch script, you could always probably run like a interpreter shell. But let's be honest, in the real world, you can't do that, right? Antivirus is going to pick that up real quickly. But just wanted to show you like a little proof of concept. I thought this was cool, a little extra, Alright guys, so we learned how to use a pretty cool tool there. As for getting it on your own computer, you can follow the link to the UACME. Then you can go ahead and download the zip to your Windows computer. And if you have Visual Studios installed, you should be good to go. Once it's on your computer, you can navigate to the SLIN file. And once you have that, you can just go ahead and ensure that you have the Windows SDK 1904 installed. I'll post a link in the description. If you need to install that, you can install it. I had to because mine was a little outdated. But once you get the 1904 installed, then you can go ahead and it's going to be 10 1904, and you're going to have to scroll down most likely. And yeah, so once you have that installed, then you're going to open up the project. So you go to File, Open, and then you navigate to the Project SLN file, and you just open that, right? Just like a usual file. And then afterwards, it looks like this. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to right click on all of them, go to Properties, and make sure that the Windows SDK is set to 10.0, 1904, 1.0. And then the Visual Studio is set to version 1.4.1, right? And that's all per the guidance, unless you have like a real updated version of Visual Studio, which I highly recommend because then you don't have to go through all this. You can just make sure that the settings are set for 4.01 and that the SDK is 1904.1 version is installed, which it should be. I guess it should be. It might not, so you might have to manually install it. That's why I give you the link, like I did. And then once you do that, you're gonna want to do that for every single one of these. Every single one of these. So you're gonna have to do this for this one. You're gonna have to go properties, do it for this one. You're gonna have to go in here, do it for this one. That one, you're gonna have to go here, properties, do it for this one. Go in here, properties, do it for this one as well. And then once it's all that's done, and you set that, you go to debugging, set this to release, and then for the version, you set it to x64 if it's in your version of Windows, and if it's an older version of Windows, you set it to something else. All right, and then you click on the solution file here, then you click on build solution, and when you click build solution, you shouldn't get any errors. It should look like this, and at the end, it should be like succeeded, and then it should give you the path to your file. And then you're going to follow that path, and that path should lead you eventually to this x64 release file. And if I click here, actually I might have x64 release, you'll see that I have my Kagi64.exe. So the thing is, Defender's going to pick up on this real quick, so you're going to have to just tell Defender not to quarantine it. And then after you do that, you want to go ahead and transfer this over to your attack box. So just go ahead and drop that in there. If you don't have the Visual Studios, not the Visual Studios, the VirtualBox guest installed, you have to do that before you can start copying stuff over. But you can see I already have it here. I would love to post it in my GitHub, but if I did that, GitHub would flag my repository as malicious. So I don't want to do that. So I just post it here. Next thing is just tell you how to compile it, which I just learned now. It's not very hard. And moving forward, you're going to want to learn how to do this because As we go through this, TryHackMe's not going to give you the EXEs. No one's going to give you the EXEs. You're going to have to compile them on your own, because once they start giving you the EXEs, they could be flagged as malicious. Nobody wants to be flagged as malicious. So it's good for you to know that. Anyhow, Danny out.